Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Red-Rupee cast featuring Dawn of War 2 Retribution. I know once again I am a rotten caster. It's been over a week since my last cast. I've really been trying to put an end to it, but last week it was work. This week it was Thanksgiving holiday. For those of you watching that aren't from the States and aren't familiar with the holiday, essentially everyone drives silly long distances to go visit family, and then we have a giant absurd feast full of so much food that we can never finish it. So on the plus side, I've got food for the next several days, and it's still been several days since last Thursday's Thanksgiving. So anyways, that's where I've been. But looking at where we are now, we're overlooking precipice of all these rocks here, over on all of Calderis Refinery. That's where we're at today. Let's take a look around at the map. Obviously, this is one of the biggest, kind of most spread out maps here. All the victory points are just spread all the way across the map. There's no real epicenter here. So you really need to keep your map control on the ball for this map. Of course, we've got the 3 victory points kind of right going down the middle here, but since the natural VPs are up on this hill here, it's actually not too easy to just get from one point to another. So the natural VPs tend to stay in each other's hands, respectively, of course. And then we've got the natural power over here, and working your way back around. You got your 2 natural rec points opposing your power, of course. So that's the map. Let's take a look at our players. InZaintJohn we have over here as our crazed Commissar Lord here. Always a nasty looking fellow right there, leading his troops into the jaws of death. And that is synonymous with victory in the eyes of Imperial Guard. And of course over here on the red side we've got Nobody as our fearsome Chaos Lord, kinda up close and personal with one of his heretics there. Looks like he's getting a little kiss on the cheek or something perhaps. That's very adorable. So let's go ahead, get this game on the road here, and see where this takes us. You can see it. There's always like to see that Chaos Lord slingshot, getting your Chaos Lord out on the field nice and quickly. Save you a second or two so you can get out in the middle ground. He's not very quick on his own, so that worship helps him out a little bit. So as I said, it looks like we've got John here taking his natural VP right off the bat, while on the other side of the map we've got Nobody. Looks like he's going to prioritize power and maybe get a harass in on his Chaos Lord, but it looks like his Chaos Lord is beelining for this secondary power node too, so maybe Nobody's trying to get an early power advantage here. And InZaintJohn getting this pretty standard double guardsman sentinel build right now. And his sentinel looks like it's going to go crashing through all kinds of stuff, just knocking stuff over without a care in the world, and try to scout out some capping squads. But unfortunately for him, Nobody's pretty much just restricted himself to sending his Chaos Lord out on that side of the map. It looks like Sentinel's going to get a nice stomp on those heretics and then just go ahead and fall back. It's not going to be able to stand up to these CSM for very long, but it is delaying Nobody's capture, and actually did manage to tag a couple of heretic models there as well. Meanwhile, the Chaos Lord has gone ahead and just knocking guardsmen left and right here in melee so far. Oh my gosh, there goes another one. Looks like he managed to peg 2 models already, and the Commissar Lord is coming to their aid along with the Sentinel speeding down here. And looks like he's just going to keep the harass going. John pretty much needs to assemble all his troops here to try to take this guy down, which is pretty much what Nobody probably wants right here. He needs to be careful with that Chaos Lord, though. He is going to get out of there, but he got rather low right at the end there. But as you can see, that gave Nobody some time to go ahead and get his side of the map captured up, and now has his forces nice and ready to push into the center here. So here they come, charging in at that Commissar Lord right now. Sentinel's moving in as well. Probably has his stomp cooled down by now. There it goes, knocking those heretics all to the ground. And the Commissar Lord is charging in here. Looks like he's already gone ahead and upgraded his power sword, which gives him a little extra DPS and, of course, makes his melee the power melee type which will be great against heavy infantry like these Chaos Space Marines. So those Heretics and Chaos Marines still hammering away at that Commissar Lord. The Commissar Lord is getting pretty low though. He's going to need to be very careful with these Heretics all hacking away at him. But he did manage to scare off that squad, and the CSM are moving back as well. A Havoc squad's been brought onto the field by nobody, and oh my goodness, that Commissar getting very low there. Just barely getting away from those Havocs. Actually, he might not get away. He's down to 2 HP. Oh, and the range fire of the Chaos Lord finishes him off at the last second. John will have none of that. Instantly buys back his Commissar Lord. That'll put him on the wreck disadvantage pretty hard right here in the beginning, though. He hasn't gotten anything other than his starting squads, and only has 1 generator down right now as well, whereas nobody, you can see, just fired all 3 of his generators up, and they are coming into play right now. So that's going to put John pretty much behind on both the tech and the wreck race right now, unfortunately for that quick hero loss. So John using his Sentinel to scout out that Havoc position, so he doesn't want to get those guardsmen caught out in there, because of course Havocs do have a very high suppression rate. Pretty much as soon as they fire that first shot, you're going to get instantly suppressed, so it's not like some of the other suppression platforms where you get a chance to fall back once they find you.
They're closing with us.
So always want to try to keep track of that. Meanwhile, again, the Chaos Lord getting very low as well. He needs to get out of there, and does indeed do that. Meanwhile, the Havoc again pinning down this Commissar Lord. Looks like he is going to be able to get out of there. I'm not sure where his guardsman squads are. It looks like John's forgotten about his secondary guardsman squad. Probably trying to get a power bash in there maybe, but he could really use that extra firepower here in the center. John seems to be floating a pretty large pile of resources right now. I'm not sure what he intends to do with that, but might just be a simple macro oversight, because he hasn't dropped his generators yet, and hasn't brought an extra squad onto the field yet in Tier 1, so I feel like either one of those is something he needs to do right now to stay on the field. The Sentinel's getting rather low, taking fire from both the CSMs and the Havoc squad right there. It does get out, and it looks like, oh, the guardsmen do get flamers, so it looks like it did work out for John to get these guardsmen hanging out in the back there. Only managed to get 1... oh no, he did get the second. This one's rebuilding, so he got 2 generators out of that, so that's not too bad. But unfortunately, since he hasn't built, he's just now filling up his power farm and still floating a pretty big pile of wreck there. He's going to be behind on the tech when it comes down to it, and against Chaos, that can really hurt. That fast blood crusher is always a threat against Chaos. You really need to try to stay up on top of your tech, and that slow gen farm could really cost John here, depending on what nobody decides to get at the beginning of Tier 2, because you can see he's almost there, and John is just now beginning to fire off his tech as well. So we'll see. John will have plenty of requisition, of course, going into Tier 2, so I suppose if the fast blood crusher does come onto the field, it won't take long for John to bring stormtroopers on the field to deal with that. You can see as soon as he hits Tier 2, he had his Siege upgrade planned right there, and his Chaos Lord is able to tie up, just knocking guardsmen all over the place. He had a kill the weak followed by a special attack, and it was just knocking them all over the place right there. And Siege bolters followed by Eternal Ward getting purchased on those Chaos Space Marines right off the bat. And that Sentinel is not going to last long against those Infernal Bolters. It looks like it just barely escapes, though, with its life at a mere 90 HP right now. That Chaos Lord is still just hammering away at these guardsmen. They've really not been able to do anything except just get constantly knocked down here, and the Chaos Lord just pretty much single-handedly pushed back all these guardsmen here. It looks like he does finally have to fall back. But, oh, I didn't think he was going to make it out there. He got one last kill the week off, so it looks like he will will manage to just barely survive unless this Commissar gets one last shot here. But it looks like he is breaking away, and the Heretics are moving into support. So it looks like he'll be alright. Heretics now moving in on the Sentinel. They really need to get in. Oh, Doom. Oh, there's a Doom Blast. Oh, they need to get those out of there. And, oh my goodness, that was very fortunate he wasn't targeting the Guardsman. He did lose, John did lose his Sentinel. But you can see this Imperial Guardsman squad literally got out of there with just a single hit point left on it. So that was very fortunate, all things considered. With that, both of those Guardsman squads so low, as soon as he saw those Heretics moving in, he pretty much should have just instant retreated. There's really no point to try to push that right there and hold out. Sometimes you just want to get that last push in, but when it's in danger of costing you squads, it's really not a decision you should make. So right now, nobody's not really brought anything onto the field in Tier 2. It looks like he got his Aspiring Champions on his Heretic squads, and then upgraded, like I said, the Siege Bolters on his Chaos Marines and his Eternal War. I really, with the tech advantage he would have had, I feel like that's a missed opportunity. John, of course, does have Stormtroopers and this Chimera on the field now, but I feel like that early Blood Crusher could have really sealed the deal with that engagement that was just happening. You can, like I said, the Guardsmen of John, InZaintJohn, were all extremely low, and if nobody had had a Blood Crusher after that Chaos Lord had just chased everything down in that Heretic engagement, he probably could have gone on and finished off one, if not both, of those squads right there at the end. So I feel like when you get that Tier 2 advantage, you kind of want to bring a solid Tier 2 unit out on the field early if your opponent can't deal with it. But we'll see how this works out for nobody. I'm criticizing the build order, but who knows, it may work in the best interest of him in the end. So let's take a look at the heroes. We can see Armor of the Inferno has been purchased for the Chaos Lord, and we see the nice little healing effects of Stubbornness on the Commissar Lord. It's two Lords, and I got confused. They both start with C. So there goes the first Let the Galaxy Burn, pegging a Stormtrooper model right there, and the Commissar Lord chugging in. Just going to be able to tank all that range damage combined with his shield and Stubbornness. Not much going to be able to take him down unless he really gets focused, and that Chaos Lord needs to be difficult. You can see he's triggered Malignant Blindness right there, was a little nervous about that Chaos Lord, and as well he should be, because he did in fact fall. Malignant Blindness was fired a little bit too late. It's really better for getting into trouble as opposed to getting out of it. Oh no, these Heretics may fall as well. Looks like he's going to get out of there unless that Commissar Lord gets another swing. The Havocs, meanwhile, have been upgraded with the Mark of Khorne, giving them that nice autocannon, which will do some excellent AV damage to the Chimera and also just tear through Guardsmen. We'll see that maybe if those Guardsmen get in range, but it does some excellent splash damage on Guardsmen because the models are so many and so close together. The Siege Marines are now pushing back that Commissar Lord, and more importantly, we have a big gen bash happening here by John on nobody's power farm. But if you can see on the other end of the map, there's a little red dot down here, and that looks like it's a squad of Heretics that destroyed the node and then captured John's power. So excellent play by nobody, because John did manage to get the power farm, but he has no squads anywhere near this side of the map to recapture that power. And nobody knows that and does pop that power node, and is going to prevent that from getting recapped. So again, nobody's going to stay in the lead here as far as tech goes. Meanwhile, John's bringing a heavy weapons team onto the field right now. Looks like a Heretic squad was brought onto the field before it reinforced. That was a bit of an oops right there. Always, it doesn't hurt to have your Overwatch on if you're not trying to buy anything big, so always try to keep that Overwatch going, unless you're trying to text. Some Guardsmen did get pushed off there. We saw Let the Galaxy Burn combined with that Havoc squad just shredded all those Guardsmen. They had one squad was able to hide inside the Chimera, but the other just had to retreat instantly. Oh no! Actually, it didn't even get out! The heretics that captured that power farm just barely caught them on retreat, and managed to finish off that guardsman squad. Oh, that is very unfortunate. I believe that one was upgraded. That was the one upgraded with the plasma guns. Let's take a look. Yeah, this is the flamer squad that was inside of the Chimera. So quite a loss there. Guardsman squads at this stage in the game are pretty expensive simply because they've been upgraded with weapons and usually 2 squad leaders. I don't think he'd gotten either Commissar at this point, but still a bit of a loss. Unfortunate there for John. Good play by nobody though. John's still floating all kinds of wreck. He kind of has been throughout the game. I'm not sure what he's planning to do. I mean, at this point, it's possible he's trying to tech the tier 3, but I really feel like he needs another squad on the field. You can see nobody's gone ahead and purchased himself a squad of Plague Marines to add to his army here and help him deal with that Chimera. The combined power of the Plague Marines and that Corn autocannon, if it gets in range, could really cause some trouble. You can see how fast these Siege Marines are tearing through the Imperial Guard infantry. Just one quick volley there dropped those stormtroopers down to 2 models, even though John pretty much instantly retreated as soon as he saw them. Chaos Lord dropped and let the Galaxy burn at point blank range right on that power farm, and dropped the node and one of the generators that John was just trying to buy. And over on this side of the map, we see heavy weapons teams hanging out. Excellent use of the Commissar Lord's flare there to reduce the range of these Plague Marines and keep his Chimera out of trouble. He was moving it back in. Oh, that was a bit dangerous right there. But he did manage to keep that out of range right now. A couple idle squads over here. He could be using them to take out these heretics relatively easily. Could have just set up that heavy weapons team and moved his squad in. But that's always the trick, is trying to manage both sides of the battle and always keep all your units actively doing something. He's decided that he's going to pull those back and try to give this Chimera a little bit of fire support right now. Is going to be able to probably suppress both of these squads and at least get that autocannon out of the back and keep that from firing on the guardsmen and the Chimera. So it looks like John was able to rout that push, but he is 200 victory points down at this point.
Do we have a target?
Which is pretty unfortunate right now, considering that nobody does have the power and tech advantage. Nobody has all kinds of power, and still hasn't bothered to build his back up, possibly waiting just to buy another squad here instead, realizing he has the power advantage. And heretics have been running around both sides of the map, just trying to keep everything recaptured while the main Chaos Force tries to push around John's primary army here. You can see the Commissar's gotten himself a flak jacket, which gives him the ability to use Inspire Terror on enemy units. And he should definitely try to use that on either these Siege Marines or the Chaos Havocs whenever he gets the chance. That could really mitigate some pretty serious DPS at this point. Those Chaos Space Marines are fully upgraded with their Bolters, Aspiring Champion, and Eternal War, so they're just doing some really nasty damage output right now. And these Havocs set up a little at a strange angle there. They're not going to be able to turn and fire at the rest of the army after this squad falls back. You see, they're going to have to reset up there, and they could have just been firing away at this Chimera and heavy weapons team. But all in all, it's going to work out, it looks like. Although it looks like these Plague Marines are getting harassed by that Commissar Lord. See, I did it again. That's what happens when you wait a week in between casts. You get a little sloppy and confused when you come back to it. Nobody's gone ahead and rounded out his army with some nice looking Bloodletter Demons here. And pretty much just pushing John around at this point in the game. Gonna go ahead and take back the map. Some guardsmen hanging up top trying to get that secondary power. Looks like nobody's just gonna hang out in center and secure his point. He's got the VP advantage. He knows There's really not too much reason to push in too hard right here.
We're standing by here.
It's just going to wait for that Chimera to come back out and try to single it out and finish it off, I'm sure. That's really the best way to deal with Imperial Guard in Tier 2. You know they need that Chimera to reinforce and stay on the field continuously. So if you can really try to take that out, it works wonders, of course. John is once again decapping nobody's power though, and will probably be able to even out this tech unless nobody does something about that. Oh, the Chimera does have its rear armor exposed to the army here. He needs to pull that back and spin it around. He does do that, but there's a lot of chaos coming in, and there's the worship just making everything charge right in there. Looks like the Bloodletter's just focusing right on that Chimera right now. They used their invulnerability. Oh, a great defensive mine placement using those Commissar mines. Oh no, but some point-blank fire from that heavy weapons team just annihilated those Bloodletters. They do not get out of there. He lost the squad. He really should have probably dealt with that heavy weapons team before he tried to chase that Chimera around. Oh man, that was a nasty loss there for nobody. Those Bloodletters really didn't get to do anything before he lost them, unfortunately. The Plague Marines do get scared away there by the Commissar Lord, and it looks like this Chimera is going to be just fine in the end here. But excellent use of those defensive mines really helped him get his vehicle out of there, and that heavy weapons team placement just turned and blasted point blank at all those Bloodletters. You can see that secondary guardsman squad of John here managed to decap that power node, and now is also getting the VP here, so buying him some precious time now that he's down to under 150 VPs to try to get his army back onto the field here and secure a victory. You can see John's gone ahead and gone to Tier 3 and is bringing a Lemon Russ on the field while nobody's trying to purchase back those Bloodletters. Really wants to keep those on the field.
Go ahead.
And these guardsmen just continuing to decap nobody's side of the map here.
We're standing by here.
So that loss of the Bloodletters for nobody just about evens it out, I think, here. So long as John can try to keep on the map for the rest of this game. It's still anybody's game. Heretics moving in on some guardsmen. A nice looking Doom Blast, taking out a couple guys right there. But ultimately they get out of there with little to no loss.
We're standing by here.
And now it looks like, I mean, nobody has plenty of power. He's still got 160 power, but he has no power income at all. You can see all 4 power nodes on the field are controlled by John right now. And the Chaos Forces are moving in. Those Plague Marines are firing at the Guardsmen when they need to be targeting that Sentinel. The Bloodletter's moving in a bit early on that jump. I would have moved. I think he really needs to just use these Bloodletters to deal with this heavy weapons team, or at least use that Chaos Lord to do that. The Chaos Lord isn't going to do much to those Guardsmen or the Chimera, but that constant fire from the heavy weapons team is constantly bleeding those Bloodletters, ironically. So anyways, it looks like the Commissar Lord fell right there. A bit of an oversight by John. Pulled his men back and lost the regeneration from his stubbornness accessory there, and fell to the Bloodletters. So again, a nice looking Commissar flare, preventing the Plague Marines from firing on that Chimera. Oh, and it looks like a blood sacrifice going off on the Plague Marines. Nobody really wants to take out this Chimera, but looks like Catachin Devils have been brought onto the field here at the end of the game, and that Chimera does have to fall back. But ultimately, Blood Sacrifice didn't get too much done here. Although Plague Marines and those Blood Sacrifice Bloodletters are moving in on this Lemon Russ. And it is going to have to fall back as well.
Plague Marines on us. Here, let's get to it.
So unfortunately, John lost that Commissar. Gonna need to wait a little while probably to get him back onto the field. And nobody's still hanging out in Tier 2. Chaos Tier 2 is of course very powerful as it is. So Chaos doesn't normally rush into Tier 3 as it is. You can see the Chaos Lord's gone ahead and upgraded the rest of his wargear. He's gotten himself a combiflamer and the demonic visage, which anytime he strikes a melee blow in combat, it will reduce the damage output by all units around him. Now you can see kind of a standoff here. All the guardsmen are moving in but getting pounded by that Havoc squad. John really needs to be careful. Oh, let the galaxy burn, just blasting away all these guardsmen. Oh my goodness. A lot of damage taken right there. The Lemon Russ is now moving up on the other side. There goes the Catachan Old Reliable, but unfortunately, there's nothing up available to use that. Kind of a premature firing of Old Reliable. You kind of want to use that when your army can take advantage of it, because he did knock down the Corn Marines. But now they're just back up, and again, you can see them just causing terrible damage to this Imperial Guardsman squad. And the Catachans are taking a lot of fire from these level 3 Siege Chaos Marines. So John's kind of just pushing up here when he, I know he's low on VPs, but he's kind of just going in full frontal assault and causing himself some hurt. Oh, and you can see the worship being used here to get those Plague Marines up, but they kind of mixed up his AV and sent one to each vehicle when he probably could have just tried to focus on this Chimera. The Plague Marines still might be able to help these Bloodletters out. They did get one slow shot onto that Chimera, and it looks like the Bloodletters, yes, they do take it out. So finally able to take out that Chimera, and nobody's going to be in a pretty good position here to hold this center point now. It still has the Plague Marines on the field firing away at this Lemon Russ, and now bringing a Chaos Dreadnought onto the field. Of course, with the Siege upgrade, I'm assuming it'll get to deal with this tank. In this particular case, Dreadnoughts are a pretty good counter for tanks when it comes to Chaos. These late game Catachans were kind of a curious purchase, but if you're going for map control late game, Catachans, if you have the spare resource, which John kind of did, you can see they're just going to kind of fire away. Catachans will beat just about any other capping squad in a capping war, so if you generally don't need them too dramatically with your main force, so it's kind of cool to have those, and just you can go around and kind of blast away at any other opposing capping units. Let the Galaxy Burn goes down onto the center of the map there, and does force off John's decap at the point there. John's down to under 100 VPs. Oh no! But it looks like nobody wasn't paying attention to his Heretic squad and did lose that with Aspiring Champion and all. Very unfortunate there. John's using his Stormtroopers cloaked now that there aren't any vehicles on the field to his knowledge, and been using them to decap points throughout the map. And here comes the Siege Dreadnought. I was correct, he did get the Mark of Siege, which gives him those rocket launchers, which do excellent AV damage, and they also have a rocket barrage, which does pretty decent anti-infantry damage as well, and does suppress. Oh, and there it goes right there, coming down on that heavy weapons team. They do retreat at the last second and don't take too much loss, but that Dreadnought will pretty much be able to sit there and tank and just hammer away at that Lemon Russ tank. You can see they're both just hammering on each other, but it looks like the Chaos Dreadnought is going to come ahead there. But of course, the Imperial Guardsmen are now moving in, and you can see the Commissar did drop another pile of mines here in the back to support that Lemon Russ. I like that defensive use of the mines to keep your vehicles in safe hands, so if those Bloodletters do come after you, you'll be able to scare them off with a couple mines and at least slow them down.
Go ahead, sir.
So keeping these Guardsmen in the back to repair is working out pretty well for John here, while that Commissar Lord has gone ahead and upgraded to the Fist of Brockus, which gives him some excellent heavy melee damage and a nice ability as well. You can see he just used his Inspired Terror there on those Plague Marines, so they're barely doing anything to that Lemon Russ anymore. And another Blood Sacrifice being used to bring some Bloodletters onto the field. And there we go, we see those mines knocking over those Bloodletters, preventing them from advancing on either the Guardsmen or the Lemon Russ tank. And but unfortunately, Siege Marines did get to capture that center point, and putting John on the offensive here again. You also saw there the Siege Dreadnought was firing on those Marines and blasting his own mines under his feet. So you got to be careful. Never stand on your own mines. That's a lesson to be learned here. The Fist of Brokus being activated there, using the Nunshell fall ability, which prevents these guardsmen from falling while it's active, but they will get very low, so he needs to get those out of there. Oh my goodness, as soon, there we go, just barely got out of there. Oh man. The Siege Dreadnought does fall with the combined power of the Melta Stormtroopers and that Lemon Rust tank. And now the guardsmen and the tank just hammering away at these Plague Marines. Meanwhile, Bloodletters have moved in, but the heavy weapons team is hanging out behind it and is again just firing point blank at these Bloodletters. This heavy weapons team has just been specializing in wrecking Bloodletters the entire game. But this tank's in a bit of trouble. It's very low. Oh no! The Plague Marines and those Bloodletters sitting at a mere 40 HP managed to take out that tank. Very unfortunate. The Commissar actually probably should have tried to target those instead of these Plague Marines, and might have even taken the squad out. John's decided to bring a second Chimera onto the field. He knows he has to kind of hang out in the center and pretty much hold the point for the rest of the game. He really can't spare any more VP loss at this point. And you can see, meanwhile, these Catachans sitting at only 4 out of 7 units. Didn't bother to reinforce them, just kind of letting them cap on their own right now. And looking pretty good there. So Heretics moving into the center, kind of on their own though, and not really getting much use there. The Corn Havocs now again hammering those Guardsmen and Stormtroopers. Luckily, the Stormtroopers got very low and managed not to lose a model yet, and scared away that Havoc squad. These gadgets need to be doing something though. It's a very expensive unit to kind of just be sitting around. John seems like he's been a bit off of his macro throughout the game here, kind of letting his capping squads sit around a little bit, and early game, like I said, he didn't have his power and was floating a lot of wreck. But his excellent play on the field, though, has been proving pretty well for him. Oh no, here comes an Emperor's Wrath. It looks like the Commissar has gone ahead and swished out some more war gear, has the Emperor's Wrath and the Bionic Eye now, and forces both of these squads on the field. Nobody's going to have to be very careful at this point not to leave any of his stuff in a big pile. So we'll see what nobody does at this point in the game. He's got plenty of VPs, so he's got plenty of time to figure out what he wants to do and bring something else onto the field. The Commissar Lord now switching back to Stubbornness. He's a bit low on HP, so he's going to get that healing going back on again. That constant healing really makes the Commissar a tank throughout the game, especially now that the heroes are getting to be high level. Both heroes sitting at level 6 right now. Bloodletters firing off their phase walk right there early on, but immediately having to fall back under all this fire. And the Commissar Lord just burning the ground underneath of all those guardsmen, but he does have to fall back as well. Nobody's kind of just pushing in with one squad at a time right now, when he really kind of just needs to regroup all of his units and make a solid push. He'd probably be able to scare off all of this stuff right now. And these Catachans again kind of sitting back, not doing much. Oh, there we go. It looks like they're going to move in and do something now. He really needs to knock over this Corn Havoc squad. That's just causing him constant bleed. You can just see it tearing away at all these guardsmen. He could, of course, reinforce off that Chimera, but it's not free. So it's a nice ability, but you shouldn't rely on it too much. You still need to try it and not take some severe loss there. Oh, it looks like Blood Sacrifice was used again, but ultimately to no effect. I guess trying to get that Chimera. But again, there's another old reliable. Heretics are moving in with a flank here. And these Plague Marines have to be very careful. Just sitting on, letting this heavy weapons team fire at all his stuff. Another Commissar Flare going there, and finally getting this heavy weapons team. But those Heretics are very low. He needs to be careful with that. And everything just hammering away. Oh no, it looks like the Heretics do go down. Let the Galaxy Burn coming from that Chaos Lord. Oh, that was a bit of a loss there. Took a lot of hurt from that engagement for nobody. He really didn't need to push this early. He's got a VP advantage. There's no reason for him to lose those squads and all those models. He lost 3 of his Plague Marines, and I think 2 of his Chaos Space Marines. He lost the Champion and one of the models there on the Chaos Space Marines as well. So nobody just needs to get his head together and pull back into this game. He was doing pretty well there and has this locked down, but he's getting a little too anxious to try to get this VP. I know when you get your opponent down to these last few VPs, you know, he's down to 36 VPs on this side. You want to just get back out there and get that cap, but you know, when you get too anxious and overzealous for that VP, you're gonna find yourself pushing too hard and causing yourself some loss here. So he needs to utilize these bloodletters. He's kind of been, he uses the phase walk first oftentimes here instead of teleporting, which works sometimes, but really he just needs to get this heavy weapons team off the field, and he finally does that this time. But Emperor's Wrath forcing off those Plague Marines. They're still at 1 of 4 models. Oh my goodness. Oh, the Commissar Lord does go down to the combined force of these Bloodletters and the Chaos Lord, but the Bloodletter's getting very low. He needs to get them out of there. He does phase walk, but still very low, very, very low. Don't lose that second squad of Bloodletters. It does teleport out of there, and the Corn Marines are decapping, but once again, you can see, instead of having these Corn Marines just firing and hurting this Chimera, he just wants to get this VP so bad. And even he could even have these basic Space Marines here. The Siege Mark Space Marines probably capture that to better effect. These Corn Marines look like they might be able to get the cap, but they're going to be in a bit of trouble. They need to get out of there right away, and they just barely do. Trying to bleed those last few VPs off of John here, but oh man, purchasing another squad of heretics to bring on the field. You can see the Chaos Army just kind of sitting back here, battered. Really, all that nobody has left is just these 2 basic rec points in his VP. He's out of power pretty much at this point, down to 63 power. Really hasn't been able to bring anything big onto the field in a while because he never recapped this power node from those catechins and was never able to bring his power farm back up to speed with John's over here. You can see John just has more power than he's ever going to need. But looks like there's going to be a final push here. Again, just pushing out there so fast without waiting for the rest of his army to reinforce. He doesn't need to do that right now. He needs to regroup and bring all his forces to bear in one shot. This doesn't look like it's going to go well for him. Let the Galaxy Burn's going to help. But, oh, actually it hits his own squad of Space Marines there at one point. And that heavy weapons team has just been invaluable for John throughout this entire match. Commissar Flare hit right there, but it was a bit late. Nobody had already retreated. And John's going to go ahead and just try to capture this, decap this VP, and probably try to seal the deal here.
Use your cover, men.
We're ready here.
See the catechins again moving around, still not fully reinforced on capping duty. It's not really necessary. Oh man, getting another immolation right there on the point, forcing those stormtroopers off. And John's sitting on a lot of red right now, just at 400. I was curious if there was going to be a bombing run or something along those lines. Of course, a very brutal tier 3 global there. It looks like these catechins forgot to get back on the point, kind of just sitting over here. Again here, late game, there's no need to really decapture this wreck point. Just bring these catechins over and knock over this Corn. Both of the setup teams this game have actually been causing some severe trouble to either side. I think both players have kind of been neglecting to try to isolate those setup squads and take them out, and been taking some severe losses here. Looks like that Heretic squad's in a bit of trouble. Oh, here comes the bombing run. Oh, the rockets coming from that Valkyrie, shredding all the Chaos units. Oh man, and that looks like that was the end of the Havoc squad. Just barely survived. One member was just barely out of range, but the Siege Chaos Space Marines did go down. He really, again, look, see, there's the setup squad, just one little member, but it's hammering his units, and he's ignoring it. Oh my goodness, he was trying to focus down this Chaos Lord, this level 10 Chaos Lord, actually, very nasty, and just standing under all the AoE of both the Corn. Oh, and the Commissar Lord at the last second finally goes over and drops that last Corn Marine. You can see his gun didn't even hit the ground before the game ended there. Concession by nobody there at the end after that rocket run and then losing his Chaos Lord. That was just brutal. Oh man, excellent turnaround by InZaintJohn right there. You can see that just the last few members of that Chaos Army managing to survive that rocket run, and the onslaught from all these guardsmen just constantly reinforcing off that Chimera. Nobody really had that, but I think he just got a little too antsy, as I was mentioning earlier, to get this center point, and really just kind of lost his composure and was charging in to kind of end the game. And that's just proof that even when it seems like it's over, this game is certainly not over. So excellent play by both sides. A little hasty by nobody there at the end, but he definitely had John on the ropes at mid-game. And this heavy weapon squad, the ones for both sides really, if you go back and watch throughout the game, both players, you can see it's level 4. That's a lot of damage it must have done to get to level 4. So never forget those heavy weapon squads. That's all I'm saying. They do a lot of damage. They're stationary for a reason. So anyways, there's the Commissar standing over his last proud kill. This was Red-Rupee, as always, casting these games for you. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you guys next time.